I am somebody. I may be poor, but I am somebody.
Good morning. Welcome to the Rainbow Push Saturday morning Freedom Forum. This week we have another week of exciting information for you. This is Founders Day. This day we look back and remember how we started, who was there in the beginning. You'll hear some testimonies from several people who will share information about Push, stories that you may or may not be aware of. You're going to hear from our first board chair, the Reverend Dr. Otis Moss Jr., and then you're going to hear from Dr. Joan Brown Campbell, one of the leading preachers from the National Council of Churches who helped and participated in a number of the international campaigns launched by Operation Push, later to be called the Rainbow Push Coalition. And you will hear from the Reverend Ray Lewis Thornton, who came to Push as a teenager and was one of the organizers in Reverend Jackson's presidential campaign in '88. And so you're going to hear all of those stories that help you understand the history of this organization, the really rich history, and how young people made such a powerful difference in the life of not only the organization, but how we've impacted the nation and even the world. Today we dedicate our broadcast to the memory of Charley Pride, a famous African-American country western singer who was a crossover singer years before crossover became so popular, and also memory of an actor known as Tiny Lister Jr., positive actor in film. I hope you get Reverend Jackson's column. You can see it on the screen now. You can go to rainbowpush.org and download the weekly column. If you are a member, you will be getting the weekly column in your email, so make sure you check your email. In the meantime, go to rainbowpush.org. The Electoral College has finally voted and declared President-elect Biden and Vice President-elect Kamala Harris. They have the Electoral College votes. They will be inaugurated on January 20th, 2021. You're going to hear satellite reports from around the nation. Particularly, you'll hear from the field in Georgia. I want you to make sure that you do two things this Christmas as you approach the celebration of Christmas. You're buying gifts. I want you to buy a membership card for every child in your family, every person in your family that's not a member. Make sure that everyone on your job, wherever you work, that they are members of the Rainbow Push. It's only $35 a year. There's several ways you can join. Meanwhile, I want you to buy Reverend Jackson's book as a Christmas gift. Give this book, Keep Hope Alive, to somebody you know, somebody you love. It's history, it's information, it's inspiration, and it's education. So those are three things you can do. I want you to make sure that you are a current member of the Rainbow Push Coalition. Serving you is what we do absolutely best. Become a member, get involved, get inspired, get encouraged, and get engaged in the movement for change.
My name is Stanley Hill. I am a judge of the Circuit Court of Cook County. I am also the director of the Push Excel Oratorical Program. Each Saturday, we coach oratorical skills to youngsters virtually over Zoom, ages pre-kindergarten through 12th grade. For more information about enrolling your youngsters in our completely free oratorical program, visit our website at www.pushexcel.org or call 773-256-2762. When you need a greater amount of power than usual for animated or forceful speech, the abdominal muscles become the source of power. As these muscles contract, they naturally press the diaphragm against the lungs, thus sending out the tone with a greater degree of energy. Unless you enunciate clearly, pronounce accurately, and choose distinctive expressions for your thoughts, you suffer under a needless oratorical handicap. Nelson Simmons is a 13-year-old eighth grader in the oratorical program. He played the role of Kenny in Christopher Paul Curtis's production, The Watsons Go to Birmingham, at the Chicago Children's Museum last season. A play about the white supremacist bombing in 1963 of a Birmingham, Alabama church, killing 4 little girls, 11-year-old Denise McNair, and 14-year-old girls Addie Collins, Carol Robinson, and Cynthia Wesley. Today, Nelson will recite excerpts of sermons of one of Rainbow Push's founders, the legendary Reverend C.L. Franklin, the father of the phenomenal Queen of Soul, Aretha Franklin, that unequivocally proves that our uniqueness is not a weakness, but is rather a glorious symbol of universal greatness.
Hello, my name is Nelson Simmons, and I will be reciting a series of quotes from C.L. Franklin, one of the great founders of the Rainbow Push Coalition. Everybody wants freedom. Everybody wants justice. Everybody wants what's coming to them. But very few of us take the time to think about the price that must be paid for these things and the responsibility that comes along with the achievement of them. When you've got so much religion that you can't mingle with other people, that you are afraid of certain people, let me tell you, you've got too much religion. Sometimes, in the midst of our own crises, in the midst of the things we find ourselves involved in the midst of our own life problems, sometimes the power of our deliverance is in our own power and in our possession. What you need, my brothers and sisters, is within you. We know what the human problems are. We know that men are mean. We know that men are cruel. We know that men are ruthless, unkind. We know that men are murderers and sinful. We know that they are selfish. We know that they are narrow-minded. But what we don't know is what to do about it. We have already diagnosed the case. But what we can't do is write a prescription. My soul is an eagle in the cage that the Lord has made for me. My soul is caged in this old body. Yes, it is. And when the day comes, the man who made the cage will open the door and let my soul go. Thank you.
Office of the 17th Ward was gracious enough to call me and ask me did I want a turkey, and I said yes, and I'm thankful for that, and that's one of the reasons why I'm here today.
Freshly prepared, balanced, nutritious, balanced nutrition meals for the South and West Side.
But this is just a season to be a blessing to you all, and I'm just grateful for Reverend Jesse Jackson, our leader in this country. Reverend Jackson has done more to help our cause than probably anyone else that's living today. And so I just want to thank him for being a blessing to our community.
So I'm 69 years old, and when I grew up, we grew up with Operation Breadbasket, which now is PUSH, the PUSH organization, and my mother always got a basket every year. And I think it's good to care about your community and the people in your ward.
I'm so honored to have Reverend Jackson and Rainbow Push Coalition out in the 16th Ward in Inglewood at Kennedy King College as we are blessing hundreds of families for the Christmas holiday. Keep hope alive. This is hope for the disparities and the hunger insecurities that are happening in communities like Inglewood, Chicagoland, Gage Park, back of the yards. And we're right here at Kennedy King College, which is so near and dear and important because this is the largest city college in Chicago. But to celebrate not only life, but then to help and to give some hope to some deserving families.
What we want to talk about is the overview of the vision for starting Operation Push and Operation Breadbasket, looking at the theological foundations for the organization itself.
From 1971 to 1980 would be one phase. 1984 to 1988 is one of the most gigantic and innovative political phases we have witnessed prior to and related that the election of President Obama. And there are several chapters in between. One chapter would be the expansion of Operation Push, the establishment of the covenant, the economic covenants, and also the expansion into the political phase or phases of Operation Push, leading up to the campaigns, the two presidential campaigns of Reverend Jackson. Too little is known about the impact, the consequences and fruits of those two campaigns. And there's a whole chapter in Push for Excellence that helped to write a new chapter in public education. Out of the two presidential campaigns came Rainbow National Push Coalition, another chapter. And there are many things between those and down to, you could say, the present hour. What did Push do in those early years? What are some of the impacts on the political process? These are some of the chapters that are almost like hidden history. And you mentioned earlier the international phase. The whole chapter of getting Lieutenant Goodman out of captivity, safe and sound back home. All of the folk who were released, and Dr. Joan Campbell can talk about the experiences she had with Reverend Jackson in the international arena. Some very, very teaching and telling experiences, even some comical moments.
Quite a few of those.
Go right ahead.
Well, I'm not even started. I mean, obviously, I think it was those very things that you call what would look like fun was, in fact, the coming together of people's working together and trying to take on. I look back and think sometimes, how did we ever decide to do something, some of these things? And looking back now, you think, had wisdom been with us, we might have said, no, it's too complicated. But fortunately, God was with us and said, you're made to take chances, dummy, not to just do the things that you can see so easily what the answer will be. And some of the earliest days were really days in which it was not clear at all where we would go, what the purpose would. We knew the purpose, but we knew it in our hearts more than we knew it in our speeches. And I think it was over the years that people began to see what was the meaning of this, of what we were doing. And to this day, I think perhaps going backwards a little bit would help us, because we took big chances and things that we didn't know where we were going always. We didn't have a laid out purpose all the time. But the fact is, we were engaging in issues, white and Black people around the world, that have made a great difference. This place is not unimportant.
When we left Selma, Alabama, the challenge of Dr. King was, could the movement go north with just a Southern thing? You know, oh, this was just Southern, could we go north? And Cleveland do a voter registration drive. Up at that time, Huff was rough at that time. It was like a real gang alley type thing. And I related to the big gangster because he was from South Carolina. It happened to know his family. We ended up relating to each other. Nobody else could relate to him. We went to Gary and Cleveland.
Right.
Gary and Nana, we just ran something different. You had Blacks lined up against Dr. King. They were inside the liberal machine, a white mayor. And they want to attack Dr. King for even coming. So he didn't come. What he did was, on the Sunday before the election, he did a radio show, said, if I were voting, I'd vote for Hatcher. If you come to a rally or something, they were going to pick him. It was embarrassing. So Hatcher and Sophie were elected on the same day. Sophie was inaugurated, it's all next day. Hatcher in January, the gap between that. In Cleveland, somewhat different. And what was interesting is the program that had the most gusto, we'd done public accommodation, done the right to vote, but breadbasket had the most appeal. Guys wanted to do something. Breadbasket was impressed. We negotiated with stores, wouldn't let our business in. Banks wouldn't lend. Breadbasket. And breadbasket took off and left everything. Matter of fact, in his last address, the mountaintop, he mentions breadbasket in the address. And I worked with Boycott, Coca-Cola, and some chain store, something like that. But my point is that I think if we did with that period, that's almost enough today. Dr. King coming north. First time we ever met, the Black preachers had a press conference and said Dr. King doesn't belong here. One minister in Chicago said he should go to hell and made all 3 network news that night. It's a real hostile thing. What I did was, in anticipation of that, I put together some ministers. The Chicago Theological Seminary. Reverend Evans and Reverend Cobbs and Reverend Thurston and so on and so forth. We meet on Wednesday. The ministers were glad to be there because they meet with the seminary professor, take all of the class. And the professors were glad they were talking to practical preachers. And so it became the base for Brett. Dr. came to Chicago. Trooper, the education group invited him here. But that didn't appeal to preachers. And you know that it's critical that we do that so that, well, I'll preach you guys how to breadbasket. And we on Triple Zero. And we met Clay and Blair and Thurston. They said, we're not going to let this boy lead us. I was the boy. Because I didn't have a church. I was in the circle. And so breadbasket kind of took off. And everything took off really from breadbasket. And in many ways, Wall Street and Silicon Valley is breadbasket large today.
When the time came for Operation Push to be born, some of us had to make some decisions as to whether or not, just like we did in the student sit-in movement, are we going to be a part of the nurturing of a new thing, a new birth, or are we going to try to abort the baby after birth? And some of us decided, like myself, and a few others decided that we need to nurture a new phase in the movement. It's not division, as we defined it, it's growth.
Dr. Campbell, when did you enter the Operation Push work? I know you hosted Dr. King in Shaker Heights. But when did you really form the relationship with Reverend Jackson and Operation Push?
It was very close to that period of time. As I look back on it, I feel as though there was always that relationship present. And of course, as you can imagine, the role of women at that time in life was not nearly what it is now. And so the entering in as a woman was at that point in time much more difficult than it is now. We were coming in to work to be done that was not ever done. And it was something new. It was something for that. Anything new is always problematic.
I would say, Bronson, 68 to 08, 40 years in the wilderness, 40 years. Dr. King was feel we were disoriented. What to do? And we used our creativity in that period to survive. We just think it's never been done before. It didn't seem as big to us as they were, as Joan suggests. We just did them and fell in line for us.
Reverend, we've been joined by one of the young people that joined PUSH and participated in the early political trainings hosted by Alice Tregay and many others as part of the political movement, Ray Lewis Thornton, who was, I think, the most preeminent organizer for her generation that we've ever met.
I came to PUSH really at an incredibly exciting time. It was the summer of 1983 on the backdrop of Harold Washington's victory. I had organized students to come to Chicago on election day from SIU, and we were housed that day at PUSH. So there were about 7,000 young people at PUSH that day to get out the vote for Harold Washington. First, let me say this. As a young person, 20 years old, to sit in that little chapel and Reverend Jackson walked into the staff meetings it just blew my mind to be in such proximity to his brilliance as a young person. The youth network that we built in 84 and 88, we had some incredible young people that Tyrone and I were able to pull together that birthed out of what we were doing at Operation Push at the time to have a lasting impact on politics in the U.S.
It seems to me that based on what we've said this morning, we need to be looking at whatever name we would, a PUSH university, a PUSH academy, where we learn from the past, history, where we look at our challenges of the future now, and also plan for the next, prepare leaders for the next phase of our struggle, then, now, and beyond. And the material that we have shared this morning constitutes really the value of a year in college or a postgraduate degree. And it seems to me that PUSH is the one entity in the nation with the history, the experience, the individuals, the leadership, etc., to do this academy or whatever its name, to give us the next generation of leaders. But we ought to know the history. We ought to know the present challenges, responsibilities, and possibilities, and we ought to be preparing the next generation for all of the things that we're going to be dealing with for the next 50 to 100 years.
as we sit here and listen with generation to generation to generation. And it is for me, and I think for my husband sitting next to me, a time of learning and a time of listening and a picture of where we came to, where we came from, where we are now, but together, where we will go together. Because I think the richness of what we have between us and with us is extremely powerful in a country that continues to be divided by race and by color and by age. And what I see here today is the hope of people coming together, people of colors, people of different backgrounds, and people of different ages. And it is the coming together of these minds. It is rare. It is very rare. We are in the beginning of building, hopefully, for the future, and having the younger people also teaching us so that we find our way in a very difficult time in this country's life. Can we find a way out of the difficulties that have been created into a promise of tomorrow? And I think a recommitment from those of us that have been here for many years, this very time together is part of that. And I think the coming together, more of that, of people from different generations, people that have been working together on the same issues. And I think that's something that lies ahead of us. It's something that we have to offer.
Because watch these men, the oldest was very soft-spoken and laying back, and the oldest so slow. And when it was the object of everybody's eye, the oldest took her away. And then Pennybacker, he's kind of slick, he ended up taking you away, Jones. So to watch these guys in the movement, oldest Pennybacker.
Voter advocacy groups are asking the state to restore those names to the voter rolls ahead of the January runoff. So this lawsuit was filed in the Northern District of Georgia. 3 different groups, including the Black Voters Matter Fund, say the state improperly removed 198,000 people from its voter rolls last year on grounds that they changed their addresses. The only problem, the lawsuit claims those people never moved. It also claims several thousand voters have died and some have moved, but they say more than 195,000 people were wrongly taken off the list.
And we need your prayers because it's a tough fight. But there's no better fight that I'd like to have than representing Transformative Justice Coalition, Barbara Arnwine, Rainbow Push Coalition, Jesse Jackson, Black Voters Matter Fund, Latasha Brown, and Southwest Voting and Education Matter. And why? Because they represent the people of Georgia in this fight. And no one said it's ever going to be easy. But we just have to join together and apply that pressure, Bishop, that you talked about. Because we stand on the shoulders of that Thurgood Marshall, of that Constance Baker Motley, Charles Hamilton Houston, Johnny Cochran, Willie Gary, and so many others in the fight, and we don't have the right to say no. So I want you to know the National Bar Association lawyers are leading that fight tomorrow. That's right. We do have a Rainbow Coalition team. Yes, we do, because we look like America. Right. But I want you to know at the head of that team are lawyers from the National Bar and our Young Lawyers Division, because they need to know what it is to fight on behalf of those civil rights leaders. And they're part of the fight too. And so we ask that you pray for us, that you join us in the fight, and you follow what happens.
And tell them about Fred Gray.
And finally, you see, ladies and gentlemen, in life, there's a convergence of history that's inexplicable. Well, it's explicable because God predestines. Dr. King had a lawyer, and that was Fred Gray. Rosa Parks had a lawyer, and that was Fred Gray. The Tuskegee victims of that syphilis experiment had a lawyer, and that was Fred Gray. Barbara Arnwine, Daryl Jones, Reverend Jesse Jackson, Latasha Brown, and others tomorrow have a lawyer. Yes. And that is none other than Fred Gray. And so you see, history is coming full circle here in Atlanta, ATL, where Dr. King's church is right down the street. Where he fought so much, his attorney is in the house. That's right. Representing something that Congressman John Lewis fought so hard for us to do, which was to protect the right to vote. And I'm going to close with a little story. On March 2nd of this year, I met with Reverend Jackson and Congressman John Lewis in Congressman's office down the street. Because I wanted to know, this is before I was sworn in as National Bar President, what should my agenda look like? My civil rights agenda, my voting rights agenda. And this is what they told me. They said, CK, we marched. We got beaten. Some of us got killed. So that you and others would have the right to vote. Yes. The National Bar Association and its lawyers must protect that right to vote. That's right. And that's what we're doing, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
Good morning. We are in the midst of a major drive to get more members, more people engaged and involved in Rainbow Push, supporting the programs of Push for Excellence and the Citizenship Education Fund. If you're interested in public policy and you want to help change the policies that impact those incarcerated, change the policies that impact students attending colleges and universities, if you want to be a policymaker, then you need to join Rainbow Push and join by paying your $35 right now. Some of you watch us every week. You listen to us on the radio. You're viewing us in social media. We need you to become a member. It's only $35 a year. If you believe in the scholarships that we give to thousands of students each and every year, we've awarded more than $10 million to scholars year to date. What do you have to do to give and support Push? It's really very simple. You can go to rainbowpush.org if you're on a computer and press donate. Give any amount. Every dollar is important. You want to talk to somebody, call us at 773-256-2775. You can give right now, any denomination that you choose. You can text the word PUSH, P-U-S-H, to 41444. Text on your cell phone. Most of you have a cell phone. Just text PUSH, P-U-S-H, to 41444, and you can give any amount that you feel comfortable giving. Or call us 773-256-2775, or go to rainbowpush.org and just press donate. Wherever you are, you can support us as we keep pushing for you.
Hi, I'm Hermine Hartman with more of Conversations with Reverend Jackson, and today we're going to be joined by two of my very good friends, Melody Spann Cooper of WVON and Abe Thompson, just a media Mongol who started riding the bus and selling ads. Reverend Jackson, VON, Black Radio, played a very important role in the development, the growth of Operation Breadbasket, Operation Push. Tell us about that.
At the time when Sammy Davis had to fly me L.A., New York, there was a cup show on Saturday night where there had no access.
That's right.
That really was the key. Don Cornelius, met him, he was selling
Soul Train,
VON, newsman.
Mm-hmm.
He met a lot of artists at VON and then moved to a Soul Train. Mm-hmm. Many of our Barry Gordon would come to VON because he could break records out of Chicago, mm-hmm. and Al Bell, and Atlantic. The fact is that these, VON was a 1,000 watt station, and 50,000 watt station couldn't compete with VON. Mm-hmm. So we influenced the station to the right, not them to the left. And so it was interesting about that, the good guys, they were enjoying, that way they make a little bit of money, and they hustle all the good. Her dad was an entrepreneur.
Purvis Spann.
Yeah, he was a blues man from 12 o'clock at night to 4 o'clock in the morning.
Entrepreneur in the daytime.
Well, he wanted to buy the station. The guy wanted to be on the station. He wanted to own the station. Mm-hmm. He did own the station.
That's Leonard Chess.
His daughter, his daughter runs the station. She inherited that, my father's work.
Melody Spann.
Because he had a sense of bring artists to town, and they hire Chaparral at one of his places to entertain.
So he had entertainment, he had clubs, and he had entertainment, and promoted the entertainment via
When the
VON.
political break started, they said, you show me a Harold Washington, I'll show you VON. Show me Prince Southern New York, I'll show you WLIB. Where there was black radio, that became the centerpiece of information.
Mm-hmm.
And it ran through them in ways.
And then also, Push began to broadcast on WVON, which grew our audience.
What used to happen is that they had a Dawson's Breakfast Club.
Mm-hmm.
Breadbasket got so hot until the guys said, well, we don't need the Dawson breadbasket.
Mm-hmm.
So the black guys, George Johnson, George Jones, they put a camp together, and they paid for an hour. They would tell us what to say.
Mm-hmm.
So we ran broadcasts from VON. And in the end, we ended up getting more wattage, more leverage, because the key to us was black radio.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why today, FCC and black radio stations, we need more radio stations. And TV stations, we just don't have it.
Melody, you grew up at WVON, and you know bottom up as a child, really.
Sure.
We're working with your dad.
Right.
And you too have always been involved with Breadbasket. Now you remember Black Expo from another perspective. Yeah. You weren't a vendor there, but your VON was very, very important part of Expo. Yeah. But you as a kid, you saw Michael Jackson, Jackson 5 there. Tell me about that experience.
I did, and not even realizing that it was necessarily Black Expo that was emanating out of Breadbasket, but just a place, a space where black empowerment was. I was 6 or 7 years old, and there was black people, I mean, just everywhere, right? And such a sense of pride. I came up, in a different space in Chicago because of the work of Reverend Jackson in the Breadbasket. And because of who my father was, I never understood lack. I never understood being inferior. I always thought that my blackness was superior. I mean, I lived in a black community. I had a black successful dad, and there was black empowerment all over Chicago. And so
you were privileged.
I was privileged, but so were my neighbors. So black in the 70s, I think we were at the height of our progress for black people. Right?
Black is beautiful, black power.
And in the center of it was this handsome man with a dashiki
saying
that I am somebody. We were somebody.
And we were. So you went and saw the Jackson 5 at Black Expo.
Yeah,
and
with 30,000 other screaming people.
10-year-olds. No, 10-year-old girls.
Yeah.
It wasn't people.
We were at Dr. Haynes' office, 366 East 47th Street. And Julius Jerry came by and said, look, these kids want to sing at Expo. So we can't.
The kids from Gary.
Yeah, so we can't do it because we have Nancy Wilson, we have Quincy Jones, we have
Rita Franklin.
We can't do it.
Marvin Gaye.
And so he said, well, they was across at the Tivoli for 250 Jackson 5. So these come down and speak to the kids. So we went out there in a station wagon and a U-Haul attached to it. And they blew me Saturday afternoon. They came Saturday afternoon, and guess what? They never came back down.
One of the things that I like to talk about with hanging out and being a part of Breadbasket is that everywhere we went, there were also musicians that were famous. My best story is that we thought we were somebody when they elected the mayor of Gary, Indiana. We were doing a music thing, the band and the Piperettes, and there was this little group of young boys who were going to follow us. Little did people know that that was the Jackson 5s.
We're about to introduce our perfect examples of young people who have been saved and who are willing to do everything they can to help save others. They come to us here at Expo 72 riding the crest of a string of smash recordings that seems to stretch into infinity. Let's all stand and welcome Michael, Marlon, Jermaine, Tito, Big Jackie, the mighty, mighty Jackson 5.
I happened to be there the day that the Jackson 5 came. I was somewhat sorry. They were so famous by the time of the expo, we had to literally put them in a truck, drive the back of the truck up to the stage. We could not let them be seen because people were going crazy. And they walked from the truck onto the stage, and they left the same way. They never touched the ground.
Abe, now you've been in, you were working at BON at the time as in sales, and you have grown. Talk about your experience with Reverend Jackson.
Well, my experience with Reverend Jackson and BON goes back way before I started BON. When I was a kid, and this Southern gentleman was here talking about I Am Somebody and Operation Push Out of Dashiki, and I wanted to go see him, because he was somebody like me who was representing everything I wanted to be. You know, I wanted to be strong, and I wanted to be caring for people. I wanted to do something for my country, and Reverend Jackson was that. And then when I was in college, I met this guy, Pervin Spann, and I would go to the concerts when I came home from school. He would give me free tickets.
He gave you free ticket? Why you get a free ticket, Dave?
I just call him, talk to him, go there, hang out, say, Mr. Spann, I listen to you on the radio. But here's the thing about Push, Expo, and BON. The relationship between all those things was so loving and symbiotic that it uplifted everything. When you went to the expo, when you listened to Spann or heard Ken on the air, when you listened to BON, you felt good. I mean, you felt good about Push. You felt, and they all helped each other. You know, and the artists came to the expo because it helped them. They came because it helped BON. BON came to Push. I mean, like I said, it was a family love. I mean, I loved it.
But watch this. Imagine him booking these acts and the amphitheater, 30,000 seats, and every one of them full.
The thing was that we would come out of our doldrum of fear. We'd come north with the movement.
Yeah.
And Chicago had all these disconnected pieces. Only black daily news here was the Defender, Jet Never was here. We was owned by Lord Chester, black oriented. BON was the voice of Negroes, it was BON stood for. And we had all these artists, and we had the James, they were at Chess Records, and the Chi-Town Sound, Carl Davis and all that. We had all these, and so we pulled them together, and I think when Dr. King was killed, people, you could either surrender or fight back. They chose to fight back. We created for them a platform to fight on. I remember Marvin Gaye coming, and when Barry would take a night, Motown night.
Motown night.
Yeah, would take a night. But what happened was that the Jackson 5 came on Saturday afternoon, free at that time. Even Abner put up a $100,000 stamp, $100,000 merry-go-round type thing. And Barry was on it first, but it worked out. I mean, you featured them, and to the last days, Michael thanked us for their start.
Reverend, we introduced them. Pervin Spann, we introduced the Jackson 5. Didn't nobody know nothing about the little boys from Gary?
They were at the Tivoli across the street.
Yeah. At the Regal?
At the Regal across the street. I remember when Dick Hatcher did his first inauguration, so to speak. And people wanted to see Sammy Davis and Belafonte, but Harrison wanted these kids to perform. And I give Joe and Mrs. Jackson a lot of credit. They stayed in a full-room house, triple-decker beds. He cleaned the living room out and they would dance.
9 kids.
And then up here and went to LA on a station wagon. The rich stories about time. But see, but I'm back to the radio. When you're on radio, you tell your story.
Yeah.
That's right. When you're on media, you can tell your story.
Facebook,
not filtered, unfiltered.
Facebook and all that's important. People need to hear the voices.
Yeah.
That's right.
You remember Prince and Joy hamburgers?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, those were good hamburgers. You remember that, Melvin?
No, I don't. I'm sorry, I don't.
Well, they were very good hamburgers.
Well, that's what Dad said. But Prince and Joy was on 31st or 35th, and Al Benson actually did his show
Upstairs.
And Dad was driving cabs at the time. And he said all he would remember was that people would be 2 to 3 blocks long trying to buy these hamburgers. And he was like, you know, the hamburgers are okay, but it was the man upstairs driving them.
Mm-hmm.
So that is, so my dad said, well, hey, you know what? If I can control how people move, I want to be in that business.
When the science radio was up in the 30s, blacks in the lottery. The 50,000 watts, they would give it to the lottery.
Yeah.
Government can't own the station in America.
Mm-hmm.
So it's private owned, but they got to a lottery. So blacks had the right to vote. They had TV stations in the lottery.
Mm-hmm. Bob Johnson, right?
It was a lottery.
Yeah.
So I'm forever indebted to Larry because West South 11, 12 on the night, CBS Padam, we communicated through West South at night. Some piece of our community was black radio, black churches on radio.
Melody, now you are a second generation business person, grown up in the business, but you have done just wonders in expanding the station. You increase the wattage. You've taken talk radio to another level where you are really the premier in Chicago, if not the country. You have built a new team. And you've done something even new this year, Vaughn TV. So it's another expansion.
Yeah.
But the roots, and I think that's the point that Abe is making, the root of it all has been in the role models and the mentoring that we have seen and experienced. And how important is that?
She also did her apprenticeship on her father.
Right. Her apprenticeship?
Yeah, learning how, because if somebody said, Duke Ellington said, how do you, it's different compositions. So A trains, all that. So I couldn't do it. A lot of our people have such contempt for our roots. So she learned the way how to maneuver through her daddy.
She learned the fundamentals of radio. She learned the rudiments.
Those who were successive generations, if they don't take into account the previous generation, they send themselves back.
Yeah, and I know for a fact, I'm the luckiest girl in the world. I mean, I would have had to have been pretty bad to mess this up. He really did.
Gave you a good blueprint, did he?
Gave me an excellent blueprint. He used every tool in his toolkit to get us, and it wasn't always the most conventional thing that he used.
But he was an out-of-the-box thinker.
But here's the thing, and Reverend tapped on it. I'm not in the radio business. We're in the people business.
We're in the communications business.
And my dad said that from day one. You want to move people. You want to be able to control people. And we use radio to do that. I think people get confused with the secret sauce of why VON has been around for now 57, 58 years, right? It's in its call letters, the voice of the Negro. We've always been very clear on who this audience is, and we've been reflective of this audience in a very authentic way. So that is what my dad, he taught us that, right? Listen to people. If you're able to move people, have people trust you.
And you've done that. You've done that explicitly.
Facebook and Google, all of the new stuff has its place, but we still listen to radio.
We still need the voice.
Yeah.
We need the
ability
opinion.
to communicate, and it's instantaneous. Reverend can get on VON right now. Tell people exactly what he wants. TV, you gotta go, you gotta get set up, you gotta turn on, can I interrupt this program? Social media, you can get to that instantaneous. Is it true, is it not? Trusted
false news, trusted news. Abe, now you were selling radio. You were not on radio, you were selling ads on radio. What has that, throughout all of your longevity, your experience, from riding a bus to running the station, what has that been like? Because you've had to sell black media, black audiences, black people, to mostly white people. Well, tell me about that.
Well, it was always tough. I mean, because you go in and people tell you things like, we spent our black budget. And I'd say, well, but have you spent your customer budget? You know, or people would say things like, well, you know, we get our black folks through something else. Or
through major media.
Yeah, you know, or they also listen to, you had to not only sell, you not only have to sell, be a salesman, you also have to be an educator.
That's right.
And you have to educate without getting offended.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and you know, you had to be you almost had to be a psychologist, you had to be a psychologist, a salesman, and also their counsel sometimes. You know,
what we're doing today in high-tech media, I really experienced Wall Street Project.
Mm-hmm.
Blacks had never done deals on Wall Street like Jim Reynolds, those guys are doing now. We went to, they didn't observe the King holiday.
Mm-hmm.
We got it. Silicon Valley, 136 white board members, 36 white women, 3 blacks, 1 Latino. Now there's black on the board of Facebook and Apple, all that. Our community was informed through radio. So radio is to me, is the key to our kingdom, to access our people.
Mm-hmm. There would be no Harold Washington had there not been black radio.
The impact of Push's and Reverend's efforts has been, I mean, it's going from, as you said, from Wall Street to music. I mean, how many ministers have had an album dedicated to him, one of the greatest musicians ever? You know, Cannonball Adderley did Country Preaching.
At the Capitol Theater on a Saturday morning. You remember that?
Oh, absolutely.
Melody don't remember that.
So what I'm saying is, when you look at what Push has done, when you look at what it's done with radio, when you look at done for the world, I mean, the benefit of Reverend and Rainbow Push and all of Push's programs is not just been for the black community, it's been for the entire American community.
There you go.
The world is a better place because of Push.
American treasure.
Yeah.
That's the way Reverend's an American treasure.
Right. Push is not a black treasure. It's an American treasure.
Exactly.
It's a world treasure.
That's right.
What was taught at Push, when you look at what happened and what it has done almost systemically, I mean, it's just good. It's good for the world.
Chicago became the model frame of reference.
Yeah.
Ken Gibson came up and knew it, wanted to run for mayor. Coleman Young from Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
Chicago became the centerpiece.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The urban of what happened. And the reason why they want breadbasket in LA and Cleveland and all these places, because we begin to maximize our dollar. We don't know how to use our vote. We vote reluctantly. It's big. Please vote. Money, don't spend so much. If you learn how to use votes and dollars at the same time, weapons cannot be stopped.
Called market. They call that market share.
Yeah.
And let me tell you this, something I learned from Reverend. Sometimes you're just an attitude away. You change your attitude, you become mayor, you become vice president.
Your attitude affects your altitude?
Hallelujah.
Does it?
You become president.
Of the United States? Of America? Right here at Push? Came over here to learn how to speak? Is that what you're talking about? On that note, I want to thank Reverend Jackson for another exciting conversation. And Abe Thompson moved from the bus to the management and the ownership. And Melody Spann, I'm so glad Purvis took you into the station as a little girl, teach you how to spin records and talk and run the station. And I thank my father for teaching me how to sell Pepsi Cola, but it was how to sell. On that note, Reverend Jackson, you're American treasure.
Keep hope alive.
Keep hope alive.
American treasure.
American treasure.
Some say my future not that bright. Some say I'm useless, unholy, and I'm not living right. But at the beginning of the day, look in the mirror and say, I am somebody. Well, I believe the future's in my hand. And I tell every boy, girl, woman, and man, if I can think it, I can believe it, create it and achieve it. So I am somebody. Oh, I am somebody. Oh, I am somebody. Maybe down and pushed away, But at the end of the day, I am somebody. Oh, so take away the hate and give me love. Yeah. So take away the hate and give me love. Give me peace instead of pain, joy inside this rain. I will remain somebody. Oh, so take away the hate and give me love. Somebody, take away the hate and show me love. Maybe down but not destroyed, empty but not void, 'cause I am somebody.
Dr. Kim, I went to jail with a group of 7 students, July 17, 1960, almost 60 years ago. We never stopped moving. I lost a few of jail cells and death. We never stopped moving. I thought it was time to write some of it down so the older generation can learn how we did, and what we did, and how global it was. Whether speaking about Mandela in South Africa, India, Qatar, about Gandhi in India, here at home. This book tells the story, so please get it and give it to your friends. Read it, let's argue about it, let's discuss it.
Yep, so the book is Keeping Hope Alive, Sermons and Speeches of Reverend Jesse Jackson Sr. It's quite a good collection. You know, we've got sermons and speeches from around the globe because you have made such a global impact, not just here in the U.S., but around the world.
Thank you for tuning in to our International Saturday morning broadcast. We need your support. Here are ways to give to Rainbow Push Coalition. Text PUSH, P-U-S-H, to 41444 to support the work of Reverend Jesse Jackson Sr. and Rainbow Push Coalition. When you shop, Amazon gives. Visit Amazon Smile and select PUSH for Excellence as your charitable organization by starting your shopping at smile.amazon.com.
Hi, I'm Todd Yeary here outside Dr. King's workshop, the Rainbow Push headquarters, where people of goodwill from all walks and all places gather as comrades in the movement for justice and equality. Social justice movements have been birthed in the imaginations of people in places just like this. You can be a part of this justice movement too. Join Rainbow Push as we fight for justice in the 21st century. Go to rainbowpush.org or dial 773-FREEDOM and remember, keep hope alive.
Get involved with the movement.
Somebody. I may be poor, but I am somebody.
Join the movement.
If you're not a member, become a member.
I am somebody.
Fighting the most important battles for freedom and justice for all.
You made us change. Oh, trying to bring closer.
Join Rainbow Push.
But you're not pushing me away.
Join the movement.